What if everything you've heard about Christians in Egypt is only half the story? For years, headlines around the world have painted a very specific picture. A picture of fear, of tension, of religious division. And for many people watching from the outside, one assumption quietly forms: that Christians in Egypt must be living under constant danger. But what if that assumption is incomplete? What if the reality is far more complex, more human, and in some cases, completely unexpected? Imagine walking through the crowded streets of Cairo. The sound of car horns blends with the distant call to prayer echoing from mosques. Street vendors are selling food, clothes, and everyday goods. Children are playing in narrow alleyways. Life is moving fast, chaotic, and alive. Now look closer. Among millions of Muslims, there are also millions of Christians, going to work, opening shops, attending schools, raising families, living side by side in one of the oldest civilizations in the world. So the question is not simple. Are Christians in Egypt protected, or are they persecuted? To understand the truth, we have to go back, far back, thousands of years into history. Long before Egypt became a Muslim-majority country, it was one of the most important centers of Christianity in the world. Christianity arrived in Egypt in the 1st century. According to tradition, it was brought by Saint Mark. Over time, Egypt became a major hub of early Christian thought, theology, and scholarship. The Christians of Egypt came to be known as the Copts. But here's something many people don't realize. The word Copt doesn't just mean Christian. It actually comes from the ancient Greek word for Egyptian, which means these are not outsiders. They are the original people of the land. For centuries, Christianity shaped Egypt's identity. Churches were built, monasteries spread across deserts, scholars wrote texts that influenced Christianity across the world. By the time Islam arrived in Egypt in the 7th century, Christianity had already been deeply rooted for hundreds of years. In the 7th century, Arab Muslim armies entered Egypt and defeated the Byzantine rulers. This marked a new era. Egypt gradually became a Muslim-majority society. But something important happened. Christians did not disappear. Instead, they became part of a new system. Under Islamic rule, Christians were recognized as people of the book. This gave them a special status. They were allowed to practice their religion, maintain churches, and govern their own community affairs. They were known as dhimmis, protected minorities. This protection came with conditions. Christians paid a tax known as jizya. In return, they were exempt from military service and allowed to maintain their religious life. Now, this system was not equal, but for its time, it created a structure where different religions could coexist under one political system. And for centuries, that is exactly what happened. To understand reality, we have to look beyond laws and into daily life. In cities across Egypt, from Cairo to Alexandria, Christians and Muslims lived in the same neighborhoods. They worked together. They traded in the same markets. They shared the same streets. Christian craftsmen built goods sold to Muslim customers. Muslim farmers traded with Christian merchants. Families from different religions interacted regularly. This was not a world of constant conflict. It was a world of daily interaction, of small connections, of shared experiences. Over time, cultures blended. Language, clothing, and customs began to overlap. Christians spoke Arabic. They adopted elements of Egyptian culture while maintaining their religious identity. This created something unique: a Christian community that was deeply Egyptian. But coexistence did not mean complete equality. There were periods where restrictions were enforced. At certain times in history, building new churches required permission. Public religious expression was limited. Social hierarchies placed Muslims above non-Muslims. In some eras, these restrictions became stricter. In others, they relaxed. History was not consistent. There were moments of tolerance and moments of pressure. Yet despite all this, one thing remained true. The Christian community survived. not just for decades, but for centuries. Fast forward to the 19th and 20th centuries. Egypt began to change rapidly. Colonial influence, modernization, and nationalism reshaped society. A new idea started to emerge: Egyptian identity. For the first time in a long time, religion was not the only defining factor. Muslims and Christians both began to see themselves as Egyptians first. Christians became deeply involved in public life. They became doctors, engineers, politicians, business leaders. Churches expanded, schools were built. Coptic culture experienced a revival. In many ways, this was a period of opportunity. But modern history also brought new challenges. Political instability, economic struggles, and global influences created tension within society. In recent decades, there have been incidents of violence targeting Christians: church bombings, clashes, discrimination in certain areas. These events are real, and they cannot be ignored. They are often the stories that reach international media, and because of that, they shape global perception. But here is the key question: do these events represent the entire reality? The reality of Christians in Egypt is not one story. It is many stories happening at the same time. In one part of the country, a Christian family may live peacefully, running a business, sending their children to school, celebrating weddings and holidays. In another part, a community may face tension or fear. Both realities exist. This is what makes the situation complex, and this is what makes simple answers impossible. Despite everything, daily life tells a powerful story. In hospitals, Christian doctors treat Muslim patients. In schools, Muslim and Christian students sit in the same classrooms. In neighborhoods, families greet each other, share food, and build relationships. During times of crisis, there are stories of Muslims protecting churches and Christians supporting their Muslim neighbors. These moments rarely go viral, but they are part of reality. Religion in Egypt is deeply personal, but also deeply social. For Christians, the church is not just a place of worship, it is a center of community, a place of identity, a place where culture, language, and tradition are preserved. This strong community structure has helped Christians survive through centuries of change. One of the biggest challenges in understanding this topic is media framing. News focuses on extreme events, violence, conflict, tension, because that is what captures attention. But everyday life does not make headlines. So if someone only watches the news, they see only one side of the story. So, are Christians in Egypt protected or persecuted? The answer is not simple. They are not completely unsafe, but they are not completely free from challenges either. Their story is one of ancient roots, survival, adaptation, coexistence, and struggle. It is a story that cannot be reduced to one word, because history is never that simple, and reality is always more complex than we expect. Maybe the real question is not whether Christians in Egypt are protected or persecuted, but whether we are ready to understand a story that refuses to fit into simple answers.